Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2018 TC3 Holiday Podcast.
This will be our final podcast of 2018, and we plan to make many more in 2019.
There is some adult language in this, so this will be your warning.
Anyway, we hope you enjoy and happy holidays. We will see you next year.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Winter Podcast with TC3. My name is Harris.
Explosive Rose or Matt, either one.
They call me Love. I'd go by that, or Saint Love, or Spencer's also fine.
And Tom Pure. Glad to have the podcast back with TC3. We were not doing these for quite some time, but we do have several of the older members here on. Of course, if you've watched the content, you recognize Harris and Matt. Love is a recent addition, and we're glad to have him here.
On.
Yeah,
and this isn't the Think On It podcast, so don't. This is.
Well, I've got to shuffle some papers. So I know that one topic that we all apparently have on the brain, because we didn't have a meeting before this discussing topics, was our quote-unquote game of the year. We can do actually worst and best game for this kind of shit as well.
Sure. That sounds good. And then we probably just go around with kind of a general overlay of how our years went as well, since we're kind of ringing in 2019 here pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely. Ferris, would you like to start?
Yeah. All right. Well, if I had to choose any game of the year, and this is pretty obvious, almost from a box office standpoint as well. Red Dead Redemption 2. And it's because I have been playing this game for, my God, day in, day out, constantly. And it is definitely one of those games that I loved. The story was great, characters were awesome. Just everything about it was just so damn fun. God. Although, if I had to pick, I don't know, I haven't had a worst game this year. I just didn't. I have no bad games.
It's not too
Same,
bad.
actually.
How was your year in general?
It was about average. I completed a semester in my senior year of college, and I'm about to become a bachelor's in psychology.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So, Matt, how about you?
Well, for a game specifically, I have to go with Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic. Yeah. I'm like you, I don't really have a worst game, but my year's been alright. I haven't really done much.
Yeah. Fair enough. I guess I can go next. If I had to give a game of the year, I'm gonna have to go with Dragon Quest XI because I am super excited for the fact that this is the
You alright, Love?
Uh-oh, I believe he's having technical difficulties.
It's alright. Until we get him back, I'll go ahead and just take over. I'd have to say, and this is probably not going to be too much of a surprise, would be Hitman 2 would be my game of the year, of course. Vast improvement off of the first game. You're gonna love all of this, Harris, of course, since you just got the first game. Which first game is fantastic. I will readily admit this is going to be really fucking weird, seeing as I played the first game for many, many hours. All I have done on Hitman 2 is play the original missions. Like, I'm maxing out the masteries on those. And
God.
yeah, so it's a lot of fun, especially with new mechanics. I'd have to rate it pretty highly as one of those games that makes you feel like a psychopath in a really good way. And
Yeah.
it's so visceral and perfect in that regard, because Assassin's Creed has gotten tame. Like I don't feel like a fucking psychopath when I play that. But I did have a question about Red Dead Redemption. Does it have that kind of feeling to it when you're playing it? Do you do things that would be immoral in today's society?
Yeah, especially when you decide to hogtie somebody and, well, mess with them. By messing with them, I mean laying them on train tracks. Anyway,
God. And this is $60. I I wonder if it's going to come out on PC pretty soon, because that's what I'm waiting for. I mean, I'm pretty PC locked when it comes to that, because aiming a gun with a controller, I hate it. Like I could never go back to it.
Yeah, I've recently learned how much fun it is to snipe on PC, mouse and keyboard.
See, and we were saying that for a very long time. Like you had said that you had preferred when you were switching to PC to use a controller, and we were all like, dude, just try it with a mouse, and you'll see it's sweet fucking ambrosia.
Yeah.
It ruined me for playing console games. I used to love playing console games, and now I just play PC. But on the inverse to that, I'd have to say my least favorite game of 2018 is somewhere in my Steam library. No Rag Bry. No Man's Sky. There you go.
Just
yeah,
call it as it is.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. You have just memory problems there, bud.
Yeah. I keep forgetting if it's No Man's Sky or Full of Lies or No Man's Lie.
Garbage.
All of that fucking bullshit. The super hype machine.
I see a trend here.
Yeah. It was such a fucking hype machine. Like I had the hugest fucking nerd boner over the fucking trailer for that game. And then when it came out, God, it was like being punched in the face, but in a bad way.
Yeah, with like spikes on the knuckles and
Yeah, like that. And the recent improvements. I wish there was video on this podcast so I can show the quotes over improvements, where they're basically putting functionality into the game that was supposed to be there on day one.
I now see why you want to go to space so bad on the server.
Yeah, I want to experience actual space, and from what I've seen with the Minecraft Galacticraft, looks a lot of fucking fun. And oh man, I was actually looking forward to jumping on this server and tonight after the podcast, because there's a lot of world edit stuff that I want to fuck around with. I've seen this guy doing on that YouTube channel that I just recently picked up. It was like RGA Gaming or something like that. Guy's the owner of a server.
Quick mic check.
Yes.
Delightful.
Delightful. And he owns a server, and it's fucking huge. I don't even know how they set this up. The guys are genius programmers, but basically all he does in his videos is troll hackers. Like he'll follow them around and then demoralize them and ban them. And then he'll troll some of the good people, but give them rewards after it. The most recent one I watched, he was using World Edit to shrink this dude's base while he was in it to see if he would notice. And he didn't. he didn't notice that his base had decreased by like 66%. And then like he finally looked up and he's like, why is this room getting smaller? And he went down into another part of his base, came back up, and they had undid all of it. And he realized at that point how much of a fucking idiot he was. He didn't realize the whole base was shrinking, but it's pretty good content. I would suggest it.
That's pretty awesome.
Was he a hacker?
What?
Was he one of the hackers? The shrink house guy?
Oh, that he was the admin.
Oh no, the guy that was getting his house shrunk is what I meant.
No, they do troll just regular people from time to time when they're done with it. Like they're pretty famous for it on the server. So when people are getting trolled, a lot of times they're not even mad about it. They just laugh because they undo all the damage they did to the person's base, give them a bunch of gear. You know, they're all big fans of them. So it's a really great community. When I saw that type of community, yeah, that's the type of community I want to have with the TC3 community, where we can like hang out with them and fuck around. It was
really solid.
Yeah, it was definitely hashtag squad goals. I didn't mean to steal the spotlight there from you, love you, or
No, it's definitely okay because my computer decided to hand it off apparently. So I'll just try again. So as far as my favorite game of the year that's come out, I would say is Dragon Quest 11. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Dragon Quest.
I am. I've played, I believe it was 8, I think.
Easily the best one for sure. So Dragon Quest 11 is pretty much been their first single player release in quite some time. Their last one was their last release anyway was Dragon Quest 10, and that's been an MMO in Japan only, as far as I know. And then prior to that was Dragon Quest 9, which was back on, I believe, 3DS or something like that. But I'd say that that's definitely one of my preferred ones that have come out. That and Kingdom Come Deliverance. I was super excited to see.
The art. The art looks good.
I would have to say, which one?
The art looks good. I've
the art. Okay. So the art for Kingdom Come Deliverance or the art for Dragon Quest?
Dragon Quest. I wasn't familiar with the franchise, so I just googled it, and it looks like 3D DBZ at some points.
Yeah, it is Akira Toriyama who does all the art for it, and has since the very first Dragon Quest game, which was Dragon Warrior, I think, before it was brought over to the US. But yeah, Akira Toriyama has done the art for it ever since, and that's definitely one of my biggest selling points. That, and I'm a huge RPG nerd. I absolutely love RPGs, especially JRPGs like that. And then this one has just been the best one. The music score has been on point. The art is now, being on PC, PS4, Xbox One, it just gets to take a whole new level that it really couldn't afford necessarily on, say, like the PS2 back with Dragon Quest 8, which you're familiar with, Harris. And the DS releases after that, because there's only so much power that can come from the handhelds of that era. So that is definitely my game of the year, and my favorite release so far, followed by Kingdom Come Deliverance for the realism I feel is pretty stellar there, and then following that, who actually won game of the year was definitely God of War, and I don't know if you guys have played that one yet.
I've seen plenty of gameplay though.
Yeah, it's definitely
incredible.
Super exciting. Absolutely. Like the artwork is on point. And it's just, it feels like a God of War title that brings back from playing on like PlayStation 2 and everything, and just doing the quick time event commands to have sex with the ladies on the boat and everything like that. But it takes on the Norse mythology now, which I've recently just gotten super into, at least more in depth, just because I've been getting ready to run Storm King's Thunder. for a group of friends.
I'm in the same boat where I've only seen gameplay of it, but what I love about it is the grit. Like I think
Yes,
that's in the past couple years with
Mhm.
bringing new games into these older franchises. They're just fucking adding a thick layer of grit on it. Just everything's dirty and bloody, and it's gorgeous to me.
absolutely. No,
Yeah.
and it's done well as well, which is really nice. It's not. I mean, over the top can be fun. I mean, you get games like Killing Floor or Killing
Left 4 Dead
Room,
2.
and yeah, Left 4 Dead series for sure. It's excessive, but in a fun way. Well, I mean, grit is really the perfect way to describe that. I definitely agree there. Now, I would have to say, now, granted, this didn't release this year, but it's certainly been incredibly popular to the chagrin of many. And that
Swear
would
to God,
be
if you say Fortnite.
that's absolutely the word I was going to go with. It is Fortnite. It's just been such a painful year for myself, having followed Epic Games for a little while. Because I was definitely on the boat of a Paragon as far as MOBAs go, and I got killed to make room for Fortnite. And so, I mean, I'm already salty enough about that. But I mean, I'm assuming
Okay,
maybe
good. I was scared there. I thought you were going to say Fortnite was a good game.
no. I mean,
I was
here's
really
the thing.
scared there for a minute.
No, I'm very biased against it, but in its rightful what it's earned so far, other than my sheer disappointment,
Oh, yeah.
is I mean it was a smart move for Epic Games, so I do have to give them that. It's so overly popular. I mean, it's toxic at this fucking point. I mean, you see these kids who are playing, 4 to 6 to 7 to 8 hours a day, which I mean, for us is normal. So I
Mm.
guess that part I can't get too mad at. But I mean, these are kids, who are ignoring so much of like
Yeah.
schooling. They're becoming extremely toxic people. I mean, it's
Health.
almost
It
getting,
affects.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, health is being ignored. But I mean, they're just more toxic than I mean, Modern Warfare 2, or even Modern Warfare was back in the day when that was at
Halo.
its height. Oh,
Halo
horrible.
got bad for a long time.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, and it's hitting that same level of toxicity, and I think that's my biggest disappointment. That's unbiased.
Yeah, I would say I'm rather biased against the genre in general. I played quite a bit of PUBG when it came out, and
Hmm.
that shit just gets old quick to me. I
I
mean, the rinse and
agree.
repeat.
Yeah.
There's no progression. I liked to be
Yeah.
able to sit down and play something for 15 hours, and then when I stop playing it, something has fucking changed. But if I'm gonna, and also the fact, I guess I can add on to more that I hate is the fact that it started to perpetuate other games like Fortnite and the new
Black Ops 4. God
Black
damn
Ops
it.
4 thing and everything like that. It's
For
just
sure.
adding on to a genre that, actual gamers might not like too much. Like, if to build off of what you were saying about people, playing for 8 to 10 hours, like that just, it reminds me of WoW back in the day. And if I was to play devil's advocate for Fortnite and defend it a little bit, that game has been hit with just about every fucking bias that there has been for video games.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like people playing it for way too long, microtransactions, them trying to get them for the game being gambling and shit like that, and underage players and all this stuff. Which that is a whole nother topic because
Getting sued for dance moves.
yeah, getting
My
sued for
favorite thing about that game.
yeah.
It's
Oh my
hilarious.
god.
I mean, there's no way that they'd win because you can't really
Yeah.
trademark a dance move. But yeah, it's gotten so ridiculous. Like any Fortnite article I see feels like it's an Onion article for video games.
Yeah.
There's no
And
substance to these games either. They're just, move forward and kill everything and for 10 hours straight. And then when you're done, as Tom was saying, what do you do next? Play it again?
I mean, and that's kind of the style of battle royale or any kind of battle arena games because you get like MOBAs such as like League of Legends. You get like Rainbow Six Siege and those kinds of games where you play through the seasons, rise through the ranks, that kind of thing. With those, at least, there is progression. You've got
Yeah, you unlock shit.
you've got your base rank, then it goes to silver, gold, diamond, or whatever the actual progression is per each game. There is that level of change. But yeah, with like the battle royale, it's drop in, drop out mechanics. So it's instant gratification where if you lose, you don't have to sit through everything anymore. You just jump right into the next game and start again, which I think adds to the toxicity of it. And no, it's super annoying as far as that goes. But I mean, yeah, it hasn't hit the point of wow, and at least the amount of speculation and the amount of digging into the game that a lot of other people have done for World of Warcraft is the example you brought up there.
Yeah, like the poop sock and different tropes like that. But with Fortnite, it's really hard to quantify because at this point they are, and as much as they say it and they've come out and say it completely, that game is the face of fucking video gaming right now. As much as I hate the fact, it's completely fucking true. There's too many fucking people playing it. And what I think is going to happen is in the next couple of years, they are going to come out. Somebody's going to come out with a game that will basically defeat the genre.
I'm hoping
And
so.
it will be of that genre, but it will be so fucking good that there's no point in any other game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very highly opinionated statement, but I think that game for MOBAs was Overwatch.
Oh yeah, I would have to.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense actually.
Like MOBAs have been going on hell longer than WoW, and
Right.
Wow.
it's always been top-down, asymmetric, and they've made improvements over the years. They've done, like with Smite. I thought Smite was fucking awesome when I played it.
Didn't get
Heroes
into
of
that one.
Heroes of the Storm was a step backward. But
Fair enough.
with Overwatch, it had that MOBA feel to it. I like the fact that there's different heroes that you can play. This is very similar to a kind of situation with Rainbow Six, and that's what sets them aside from games like Fortnite, where you have a character you like to play, and you're good at that character. You can practice that character.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's specialization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in games like PUBG and games like Fortnite, there's specific guns that I like to use. There's specific specializations I like to do, strategies I like to use, and those games are rolling the dice. Am I going to enjoy this?
Sure.
Yeah.
What about your thoughts on it, Harris? I guess I didn't hear much from you there.
My thoughts on it, I guess. Me personally, I don't play many multiplayer games. What I do, it's with friends.
Yep.
But when I see these communities like with Overwatch, and of course Fortnite, I say this with some amounts of hesitation. I mean, I do see some good things from it. Don't get me wrong.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Like, for example, it did shake up some of the current thoughts we had about like first-person shooters and, of course, just multiplayer games in general. We used to have the only real measuring stick being Call of Duty and maybe CS:GO for a little while in terms of competitive multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get into Fortnite, it kind of scratches that Hunger Games itch in a way. You feel accomplished whenever you get a victory, or if you get play of the game in Overwatch. Now, Overwatch, that did wonders for the FPS community, in my opinion.
unlike a certain game that came out like a week before.
Battleborn. Dead on arrival.
Such an ill-fated release.
Oh man.
Man,
And
there
then
are... Go ahead.
that was just a follow-up. Go ahead.
And my follow-up was just going to be, ill-fated releases, and this could easily be another topic in and of itself, is just games that kind of came out before they should have, or even systems that came out before they should have. We'll take the one that I am most familiar with is like the PSP or the PS Vita. Like they were just not released at the right time,
Yeah, they were released around time Nintendo was like deep already into this handheld genre and they had so many fantastic games for this massive, handheld genre that had at this point become hugely popular with Pokemon and Fire Emblem and a shit ton of others that I can't think of right now.
For sure. And I think it like the PS Vita, because I still have one. I absolutely do because I love a lot of the games that they have. And I mean, like I said earlier, just JRPGs are my jam. Like that's what that machine has become. It's just become a portal for handheld JRPGs when it was meant to be able to do so much more. And then you had like the Wii U in contrast. Well, actually, not much contrast, rather, because that had such a short shelf life. It was going from the Wii into, it was trying to be something new, but I mean, it didn't change enough, I would say.
It was like a test run for the Switch almost, as I think about it now, what the Switch is at this point. It's just a test run entirely.
No, absolutely, and I got to say that the Switch itself is just such a leap forward in what is now. It is both handheld and console, and it holds up to current gen consoles. Maybe not like the Pro per se. It's not going to take down the PS4 Pro by any means.
Or the One X.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not as familiar with the Xboxes. But I mean, it's just really cool to see what technology is coming forward as far as where the Switch has started us and where it's going to lead us. Because we have PS5 that's being somewhat rumored. No release date or anything like that, but and what that can bring, because we have the PS4 Pro, Project Scorpion for Xbox, and
Yep.
to 4K and on beyond there. So I mean, it's just, I think there's a lot of things that are coming our way for future consoles that I'm super excited for.
And the new Xbox is something I'm personally excited about. I mean, I currently have every console but a Switch, but I've been an Xbox guy since I got my 360, and I'm pretty excited for the new Xbox to come out, just to see the updates and what new games and new graphics and VR is going to come to the new Xbox at some point. And
yeah, VR is good. I had that for the PC for a little while. What I'm most excited about with the whole console game is I actually fell out of the console game for quite a while because, frankly, moving from console to console became a new UI for $800, and it was like graphics. When you play PC, graphics is just but
right. And
what made
sorry.
Oh, okay. What made me really excited to actually get back into consoles was the Switch, and I think that is a line in the fucking sand, and that made me excited to see what the other companies are going to do, because what the Switch has done is incredible. Like, it's the first time I've been just baffled with what they were capable of doing with that.
Mm-hmm.
No, and to kind of go back to the point that you made there about jumping from console to console is it is super hard to justify, jumping to the next thing when backwards compatibility is, I mean, it's not there. You know, it was there between PlayStation 1, PS2, Xbox, and Xbox 360. I don't remember if they were backwards compatible.
Yeah,
Uh,
they were.
okay, awesome.
Well,
Yeah,
Xbox wouldn't have been because it was the original, but 360 had most of their library, the original Xbox library, on backwards.
right. And yeah, so like the backwards compatibility was there for a minute, and then it went away again, and then it makes it more difficult to then have to restock your library, and
Xbox
that's
did just bring it back too, though.
right. And
Sorry to cut you off.
PlayStation, no, you're fine. Because PlayStation also did like their PS Now, where you can stream these older games and things like that. And so, you know, it's nice to see where we could go more with the backwards compatibility. Now, of course, when you're talking PC gaming, you know, and you get into those who truly believe in the PC Master Race and all that fun stuff, you know, they do have that over any console, is the fact that backwards compatibility is, I mean, you never went forwards in a sense. Like you never
Yeah.
had to change systems. You just got a new operating system most of the times, better video cards, better processors, and so on and so forth. And that's where I could definitely see falling off from console gaming, like you were saying, Tom.
Oh yeah, and the backwards compatibility back in the day was never a fucking issue with like, especially with PlayStation.
PS3 had
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah,
It started with it.
yeah, it started with it, which at that point for PlayStation in particular was fucking standard.
It was
That's
a
what you'd
staple.
expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you could play fucking anything on there. And when I saw that they took away the backwards compatibility, that was that made me lose respect for a lot of the console platforms, because it's a fucking, it's like DLC. It's a fucking cash grab.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's like I
And
can't
that's
play the
heartbreaking.
games I've already bought from this fucking company on this console. Like, why do I need to have a PS3 and a PS4 and a PS2?
Right. You know, and it definitely makes it pretty annoying when you don't have that. And that's, I think, why we see more people jumping to PC gaming for that. But then, of course, you do have games like Skyrim that get released
Yeah,
for
fuck.
every console. You know, you've got Todd Howard, who has put this out for everything at this point. I got it on my Apple Watch the other. I don't have an Apple Watch, I'm not that rich. But you know, like it's outlandish. But at the same time, like you get these companies that do that, and I think that it shouldn't be that. I think that backwards compatibility should be the standard again.
And you have people like me. I had a PS2. I still have a PS2, but I collected so many
Sure.
PS2 games that, like, by the time I was 15, I maybe had 50 or 60 PS2 games already, and I've accumulated 50 more, and I still want to play most of these games, but
No,
I can't
absolutely.
because the PS4 doesn't have backwards compatibility. My PS3 doesn't have backwards compatibility. The only system I have here that has backwards compatibility, it's the 360 and my Xbox One. And the Xbox One, it's still limited. Like, I still can't
For sure.
play half of the original Xbox and the 360 library. So
Yeah, no.
it's just,
See, that's why I was looking forward to the Steam Machine. As much as that was kind of a flop, it would just be straight compatibility. Like, I've had a Steam
would have
account
been
for
awesome.
countless years. And looking through my library just now, I've got games spanning over 20 years of development, like games from this year all the way back to fucking 2001, 2002 and
For sure.
older, and you can play fucking
actually.
anything. I have an emulator for 64 games and Super Nintendo, and you just load a ROM and motherfucker, I'm playing Mario on my computer with a keyboard.
Right. You know, and I think you know, as technology gets better, and hopefully, you know, the companies start to to listen more to us, the consumer anymore. That is something that I look forward to seeing. Um, and one thing as well that's nice is we're seeing a lot stronger movement towards independent developers. Because I mean, you still have your Activision, your EA, you still have Blizz. Blizzard's still going fairly strong. Bethesda
2K.
just shot themselves in the foot, but they're still a titan as it is.
They're still gonna come back big.
Very
They
likely,
are.
yeah, absolutely. But now we've got smaller companies that are coming up and they're releasing these beautiful games. Like you have like CD Projekt Red,
Oh yeah.
Red, with the Witcher titles and the gorgeousness of those games, and it's so nice to see that. Now, granted, they're not like an independent developer as like a small 6-person team or anything like that, but we're getting bigger names or smaller names into the ring to take on these bigger names, and they're just showing them out, and I am all for it.
Yeah.
No, it's like you can even argue the developers as different types of alcohol. This has a
Yep.
point. There's
Mhm.
getting to a point.
Yes.
So
Yes.
whereas CD Projekt Red is like the sweetest aged wine. There's not a lot of it. You don't do it very often, drink it very often, but it is so fucking fantastic and well done.
They're fancy, and you play it with your pinkies out.
Yeah, and it's just a masterpiece. A lot of these other companies are like fucking Miller Lite.
Low shelf whiskey.
Yeah, but you just put it in a can and send it out. We've got 2 new titles every year. We
Right.
spend 3 months reskinning Call of Duty, and then we release it 3 months after that, and you motherfuckers pay us.
And I hate to say it, Assassin's Creed a little bit too.
Oh yeah, their most recent titles, Origins and
Odyssey.
Yeah, Odyssey. Those two, with some additions to the UI and a little bit of the gameplay, Odyssey's fantastic. I didn't sit down and binge it like I did with Origins, because for the most part it feels like a copy paste of those two, but they were both drastically different from the rest of the series.
And that was a nice thing, I think, that they took with Origins, and now I've seen backlash as far as people not liking how it played, which I get, but they tried to take it in a different route.
I thought it was successful. I mean, it kind of puts it into a different genre almost. It's you're out again. The stealth aspect isn't as prominent as it was in the previous games. Now I could give a shit. I mean, if I play Assassin's Creed, I'll go in there and play it like fucking Dynasty Warriors now. I'll just run around and chop Asian people until they're dead.
It's me and the Arkham games. I just run around and beat the fuck out of everyone I see.
Exactly. If I want my stealth fix, I'll play Hitman.
Yeah.
Like, I will dress up in a nice suit and brutally murder.
Harris, do you have anything you want to add?
Not really. A lot of the same thoughts I have were covered by you guys.
Yeah. All right.
I think this actually deserves its own Game of the Year thing. Favorite versus least favorite indie game, since we're on indie developers. Which is another thing. I know this isn't 100% correct in 2018, 2017, where indie games were PC's bread and fucking butter. They're starting to bleed over into the consoles a little bit, especially the bigger ones. But like the Steam Greenlight, not only can have just fantastic games on there, but it gives opportunity to people like even people like us working 9 to 5s to do some coding in our spare time and fucking get a little JRPG up on Steam Greenlight, make some extra money or something.
That's actually something that I've been working on. Is now, granted it's an RPG maker, and so uh, the stigma that will come with that, of course, just I'll eat it as it comes. But has been a really exciting journey as far as learning more of the theory of game development. And I think I might less likely put it on Steam Greenlight. There were a few other places that have been doing pretty well as far as promoting these types of games and creations of literal individual developers as opposed to independent. Um, and so that's, I mean, at least as far as plans for 2019 for me, is the direction that I'm going with.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have the knowledge or the skill set to do any of that. I mean, you know full well that my coding experience is limited, to say the least. But it would be it it would be similar to, like, let's say a songwriter or a singer or a guitarist getting a piece of music out there, or somebody writing a book. It's a piece of work that you put time into artistically, getting out into a public medium. And that in itself has to be just a really great feeling. So
Piece of work, just like that Phantom guy.
fucking guy.
I mean, it's a cool feeling, but it's nerve wracking at the same time because there is that pouring of blood, sweat, and tears, almost literally sometimes, because some people really know how to mess up a computer. Not from personal experience or anything, but it's super nerve wracking because you're putting you out there to be judged by the harshness of the internet, and the unfiltered response that you can get from it. And so I think, and that's something that I learned is a whole lot of respect for people who have put their content out there. So now, as much as TC3 is a gaming community and everything like that, I think that part of it is also just on entertainment in general. And so I really did have a couple points about upcoming movies and current movies as well, that have been kind of the talk of everybody. Like Bird Box has been one of the biggest ones, and Bandersnatch, the new Netflix Choose Your Own Adventure movie.
The Grinch is supposed to be really good.
Oh, they're coming out with a new Grinch?
Yeah,
They did.
It's got Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, I saw
It
that.
actually looks pretty funny.
It's made by Illumination Studios.
It's actually directed
so
by
Minions, basically.
Yeah, it's directed by Kevin Smith's friend, one of the
Really?
guys who did a bunch of movies with Scott Mosier.
Okay, I haven't heard his name. Obviously, I've definitely heard Kevin Smith. So
But
I guess
yeah.
if he would recommend somebody, I'd probably give it a watch.
He was one of the guys that he worked on Clerks and Dogma, and he's been in all of Kevin Smith's podcasts, or most of them. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, what I have heard, since we're just kind of on the Grinch movie, is there's a major difference between how Sir Benedict Cumberbatch. No, he's not knighted. I'm sorry. How
will be.
Mr.
But he is
Benedict
British.
Cumberbatch. I mean,
he will be knighted.
he is British, so I guess I don't know if he's done enough to be knighted yet. All the props to him because I loved him in Sherlock. But with that aside, how he portrayed the Grinch versus someone like Jim Carrey. One of the most iconic Christmas movies there is Jim Carrey's Grinch.
Movie is awful.
I love
But,
it,
yeah.
and I love it for its ridiculousness.
And that's why people love it. Like I even get a little bit of enjoyment out of it because Jim Carrey is just an absolute lunatic. He's a loon, and it's the perfect role for him because he can just act crazy and not care.
And it's got timeless humor, and it's the kind of humor that you can enjoy even as an adult, especially if a lot of the old Disney movies and stuff. You start to get the jokes that they're making within the jokes, and the Grinch was just so out there in itself. Was like a giant joke for adults
Like
that
when,
kids could enjoy. Yeah.
Like when the Grinch falls face first into that chick's cleavage. Yeah.
Right. We, as
Timeless
kids,
humor.
we see,
I see.
we as kids, we
Timeless.
see, oh, he fell, hilarious. And then adults are like, oh, well, I'd probably fall too. You know what I'm saying?
I'd enjoy that.
Oh.
Oh.
Love.
But
Oh.
this,
when-
but this choose your own adventure movie you're talking about, Love. I've
Yeah, man.
heard about that. Have you watched it?
Not yet. I've had a few friends who did it, and they cannot stop just giving it kudos. It seems to be really good about drawing you in, and it's Black Mirror, so it's going to have that feeling of, oh my god, this is something that we could maybe be looking forward to, and so that's something that I think I'm super excited for. Is we've already got the element of, oh shit, this could really happen. And then now I'm in control of what's about to happen. It's like, oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. It's a horror movie without actually being like it puts you in a horror movie situation where instead of being an idiot and making stupid decisions, you're making your own decisions. I haven't seen it. I haven't even heard of it, so I don't know if it's a horror movie or not. But
kind of. Have you seen any of the Black Mirror stuff?
Yes.
I don't know what you mean by
I did
that.
not read up on Black Mirror before I started watching it, and it fucked my brain.
It really does. So the premise, Matt, of Black Mirror is it's basically a look of into the future of different possibilities, of ways that things could turn out. So there's like a lot of advanced technology stuff. A lot of it becomes dystopian or utopia sitting on top of a dystopian.
I love dystopian and those
and it's
universes.
such a good, and it really falls under the category of like psychological thrillers because of the fact that it really could come to that point. And so that's why I think Bandersnatch has become so popular.
Such a great name too for a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Any movie title involving the word snatch is just.
I mean, I thought about the fact, the cryptozoology, the actual Bandersnatch creature, which I think maybe what it's going for, but that's awesome.
That's Phantom can cut that if he
stole
doesn't
Christmas.
want it in, but
that's amazing.
Stole Christmas. But yeah, no, the Black Mirror was fantastic. If there's anybody here who hasn't watched it, definitely watch it. The biggest brain fuck, and it just the most confusing part was the transition from episode 1 to episode 2.
Oh yes.
And then you stop the episode and you go back to the menu and make sure you pick the right fucking show, because it's so I had no idea it was separate stories. I'm like, I was just watching some dude fuck pigs.
Jesus.
Why is it now, real life Facebook? Yeah, no, and that's another thing is the episodes, you can watch them in any order and not really be missing much because there is no interconnection with it. From what I've been able to pick up, they are just separate realities. And I think that in and of itself adds to that sci-fi nature of, multi-universe theory and everything there, and what kind of rabbit hole that could get into. But I think, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to kind of actually bring up, since we're kind of coming close to where we're probably going to leave off here before too long. It's just kind of winding down from the talks of what's come out and everything, and just kind of start to bring up like kind of our own plans for 2019, how we're winding down 2018. And just again, personal inlook to each of us as people and members of the community.
I think we should add in favorite TC3 moment of the year as well, because I would like to touch on that one personally.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
As we're cutting down here, so we'll start with whoever, I guess. Harris, if you want to kick us off on that.
Let's see, favorite moment. Okay, I think I have an idea. I don't know if you were here for this, Matt, but you remember when we were doing Jackbox and that robot rapping thing?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was one of the funniest fucking moments for us because,
Was it the first night? Because yeah,
for one, I was a little bit tipsy. Yeah.
yeah,
And I had to try and make raps, but instead I would end up, instead of dissing people, it would compliment them.
yep. I was here for that night. Yep, you beat you skunked a few people.
I killed them with kindness. That's what I did. I killed them with kindness. That is probably my favorite moment.
Yeah,
My God, but if I had to choose like my all-time favorite moment, it's just whenever me and Tom were just up late at night and we were just fucking talking about our little conspiracy theory, which that could take up an entire podcast on its own.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the action of just staying up and just talking for hours about a purely hypothetical subject.
Indeed.
Yeah, and of course I was drinking, but
As
Yes.
goes with any good story.
yeah. Oh god, it is hard to nail down just a favorite TC3 moment. I'd have to say it kind of changes from time to time, but if I'm to attach it to anything more recently, just the amount of effort, kind of a group effort, it took to get the Minecraft server up and running.
Yeah.
And the cohesion there. This is the biggest singular project that we've put together and have had so many members involved in, and have actually brought, though few, we have brought members of the community into it, and everybody going off working on their own shit and just coming together and progressing. I like that we are working together for a change, because a lot of times we are going against each other in these types of games. So it's
Cooperation. Nice.
yeah, I don't have to
Mhm.
shoot at you people.
You can shoot with us instead.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have to stomp you all.
Yeah.
We stomp together.
Kill you at rapping.
Yeah. I just got slowly worse at rapping. Like I
You
was
You
so
were-
good back in the day.
It definitely happens.
Speaking of Jackbox, though, I have to probably say last night might have been my favorite my favorite moment of the year, just because fucking Reese coming in out of nowhere for no reason, just to hang out, and fucking I was giggly all night, and I ended up getting fucked up, and God, it was a good time. Not to
really
mention
was.
I beat Tom at fucking Jackbox, and
Yeah, that's an accomplishment.
yeah,
But that sweet.
I was also
for sure.
shit-faced drunk, but
it's true.
I did like that. I did. They're not called quips on rapping. How I did
Lyrics.
get lyrics. How I out lyriced love using the first 4 presidents of the United States.
That was
That
pretty
was
damn
impressive.
impressive.
I super felt bad because I think that was one of the rounds I liked what I wrote, but it was it was respectable.
Hate it when that
I
happens
lost,
too.
so.
Yeah. Didn't you get you got skunked on that one too?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I guess if I were to bring up my favorite TC3 moment, I've got a couple. The first of which is just joining the community and seeing that the community, is kind of where it's at now, and knowing that it gets to go forward, and that I get to go forward with it. Because playing the Jackbox, Gary's mod, and things like that, it's really nice to just, because I'm not a competitive player most of the time. I'm there for the fun of it, and getting to know everyone and enjoy playing has definitely been my favorite part, and I'm super looking forward to continuing to play.
So another big one for me would just be laughter.
Right,
All
absolutely.
the nights I've spent with these guys, just not just Tom and Harris and Gav, but like others like Sleepy and Element, and kind of really want to say second crew, but the guys that came a little later.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and just everyone and all the new people too that have come aboard, just
For sure.
amazing. Like when I first joined, I saw these names and it was about the same 5 people commenting every day or chatting every day. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is cool. As you went along, that same 5 people started to change a little. And it just kept changing a little bit more and a little bit more. And it grew at the same time. So instead of the same 5 people, it's the same 10 to 15 people comment or chatting. And even in Discord too, you get the same, it was the same 4 people every night, playing cards or Jackbox or Gmod or whatever. Now it's, you pop into a room, there can be 15 or there can be 10 to 15 people that you've never even met before, like you've never even heard of, in a chat room, and you're laughing and having a good time with them. And
right, and there's that level of acceptance that's just really key in something that's really exciting about all of this.
Yeah, it's just automatic acceptance. Like I
right.
usually can go a long time without being on here due to real life responsibilities and stuff.
Sure.
And it seems almost like every single time I get on and play, there's another person in the room that I don't know, and I just go with it at this point. I just talk to them like they've always been there, and I think that's what people love about joining our community is they jump in the chat and you have that kind of nervous feeling at first, like, oh God, I don't know any of these people. And we all just talk to them like they've just always been there. And that's a big part of the community for me.
Definitely.
Another top point from last night, since you brought up last night, Matt, though I don't usually like the whole singing in the chat and everything, but when God,
oh man,
when he
When
started
playing,
when he started playing piano, and like everybody in the fucking Discord, most of us of course were drunk, started all fucking singing and him playing piano and shit. That was fantastic.
Usually,
we should stream that shit.
Usually I'm like that too. It's like you can sing here and there, like sing a little snippet, Achievement Hunter style. They sing like 2-3 lines of the song, and they laugh about it for a bit. But like that was over the top, and I loved it. Not necessarily because Queen is my favorite band, Bohemian Rhapsody is my favorite song of all time. Not even because of that, but because it just so happened to be Reese, who was up at 5 a.m, just joined randomly out of nowhere and started playing.
For sure.
It was a good time.
And I think that's an excellent, just kind of winding down for the year, because that's kind of one of the last games I think that we kind of got for this year. But I'm really excited for next year too. I think, we've all personally got some pretty solid plans coming up. At least I know that I do. I guess I can't speak for everyone. But I guess, turn over to Harris. Harris, what do you have planned for 2019?
Well, get my bachelor's degree for one. That's going to be the big project.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I may pursue more about. I think I may pursue more voice work because.
Right on.
Well, I can.
Yeah.
No, that sounds super exciting. How about you, Matt? What do you have for 2019?
Stream more, learn how to drive, just better myself, and get shit done that I haven't in the past, and hopefully I can just streaming is a big one for me too.
Yeah, that's kind of what I have planned is I hope to get a better start into streaming, or at least kind of working on getting my setup for what I'm going for in 2019. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm working with RPG Maker and my own video game development talents, and I think that's going to be my focus on 2019 is going to be my coding, my storytelling, and those kinds of points. But I think that's going to lead to a really exciting 2019, at least for myself, and it sounds like you guys too.
Yeah.
And then Tom, what are your plans for 2019?
2019, I'm hoping to get back into streaming. I've been on a hiatus for a little while, and I had a good test stream here not too terribly long ago when I was streaming Hitman while we were just in here chatting. Nobody really knew of, only some people were aware that I was even streaming. There was probably 6 or 7 people in here talking while I was playing Hitman. I was going to look into starting that up again. I know that my involvement with TC3 is going to be bigger, especially with the recent changes that we've been making internally, and going to be a lot of good content coming out of TC3 in 2019.
No, I'm
which,
excited for it.
Yeah,
I'm
and
very excited too.
Which this podcast is going to be one of those changes, and this is where I would like to sign off. This would be a good point to really good stopping point for the podcast itself in general, and there's going to be a lot more of this coming. We're hoping to get more regular podcasts together with a revolving cast. You won't see the same 4 Jokers every week. Hey, we might even get Joker in here one of these days. But thank you so much to all the viewers that tuned in and the people who are watching the recording on YouTube. This is Tom from TC3 saying good night. If you guys would like to say good night as well.
Yeah,
Hey, guys.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
This wasn't live stream, by the way, Tom. So you know.
Don't tell the viewers that. Cut that.
They'll watch it at night.
This-
And it'll make sense.
This has been the TC3 Winter Podcast, not the TC3 Think On It podcast.
Not Think On It. This is not Think On It.
This is not
I must
Think On
stress that.
It.
Phantom, that's your title right there.
Yeah.
Not Think On It.
Anyway, take care and have a great rest of your day.